Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take 100, episode 168. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host. He got purchased by a Bracer Group, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up?
You know, you got bought by Microsoft. Now you're getting bought by a Bracer. I mean, how does that feel, man? You're just getting passed around.
I don't know what to say.
Okay, fine. We'll just get into it. All right, everybody. No funny business this week. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. Montrell, how are you doing this week? How's life treating you?
Been okay. I just, finally found a place we're moving to, so we got a house. So I'm finally over that hump. That's
Wait,
been
did
like,
you say you got a house?
yeah, and I'm finally over that hump.
Okay.
So, that's been the biggest hurdle for us, and now that I'm over that, I can start focusing on other stuff now. No, it's not a slice of life podcast, but trying to get some more certifications on top of my other certifications that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to start making a lot more money, and not for like a lot of stuff that you may think, but I actually want to try to own a business or two to build any passive income. I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you off mic, because I don't want people stealing my idea. But it's a pretty solid idea.
Okay. Well,
so I don't want to take any business loans out or anything like that. So
congratulations. It's very exciting
Thank you.
news. Okay. Well, there's nothing going on in my life worth talking about. Just same old shit. Actually, I said this before we were recording. My fantasy football rookie draft is going on right now, and I mean, I'm just trying to trade for all the picks. It's I'm blowing my team up. It's great. It's super fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So, all right, Montrell, let's just get into it, and we'll start like always with what we've been playing. So I'm gonna go on a bit of a journey this week. Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. All right. So 2 games I've been playing. I play Lost Ark and Horizon Forbidden West. I know I've been talking about these games for like 2-3 fucking months at this point, right? You guys are sick of hearing about these games, but I think I'm done with Lost Ark. I think I hit my breaking point this past weekend. I was playing the game on Saturday, and I was just doing dailies and dungeons and whatever the fuck. And I looked in the guild. I looked in the guild menu and at the like member list and everything, and it's literally just me and Jet and like all of our fucking alts basically. But I noticed that Jet hadn't been on for like 3 days, and I was like, man, this motherfucker quit, didn't he? He's done. He burned himself out. I was thinking about it, and I realized that, and I was like, I guess I'm done too. I'm just ready to be done with it. I think I played this game too much. It has dominated my free time in a way that it's kind of weird. I think I was like actually obsessed with this game because I stopped playing it, and then I basically immediately started playing Horizon, and that's all I've been playing since. And I'm like, I like that whole like mental block I've been having with Horizon, like it's totally gone. I'm just like, I want to beat it. I want to fucking 100% it, get the platinum, and like move on to other stuff.
Yeah.
And so a second thing happened with Horizon, though. I started playing Horizon, and I just decided to knock the difficulty down to normal. And I'm having way more fun with the game on normal. It's just way more, I don't know, free, I guess. The combat is like enemies aren't anywhere near as spongy. You don't take like a fucking truck load of damage every time you get hit. Like you're fucking getting one shot by everything. So that's not happening anymore, and I'm actually enjoying the combat a little bit more now. And yeah, I'm enjoying the game overall. I went from, I think I was at 25 or close to 30% when I picked it back up, and now I'm at like 47% or something like that game completion. So um still enjoying the story as well. I've done a couple more of the story missions. They're the story missions are really well done for the most part. Like it's really high quality stuff. So I'm enjoying the game. I'm done with Lost Ark. I've unblocked myself. So Montrell, I'm gonna beat Horizon. That's my plan. I'm focusing on that game, and I'm gonna finish it and 100% it. And then after that, I'm moving on to something else, and it might be Stranger of Paradise. So just letting you know.
Ooh, don't get me hyped. Don't
Well,
get me
now that I'm
hyped.
done with Lost Ark too, that was kind of taking the place of my multiplayer game too. So I kind of need to like find something else for that. So I'm probably gonna go back to Apex when the new season starts the next week, and then we're talking about getting Monster Hunter Rise in preparation for Sunbreak on PC because I think all of us want to play it on PC, including me. So I think I'm gonna do that. It's on sale right now on Steam for $30. So I think I'm gonna do that and then play that with you guys. So I'm excited. I'm happy that I'm like finished with Lost Ark. I think, dude, it was just such a weird thing. I really liked the game, but it got to a point where I was just logging on and I felt like compelled. I really felt compelled to play it. Because I felt like I was like I wasn't being efficient if I didn't do stuff every day in it. And that hasn't happened to me in a while with like a online game. The last one that happened with was probably like Genshin Impact, like a couple years ago. So
Have you touched that game?
what? Genshin Impact?
Genshin Impact.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. I still keep tabs on it because when they release enough content, I am gonna go back to that game and just like fucking play it for like a month straight and then drop it again, probably. But no, I haven't touched it because I'm gonna have the same problem if I play that game. I'm gonna get super into it. I'm gonna play it every fucking day. I'm probably gonna put money into it. Because it's a fucking gotcha game. So I don't want to touch that. I'm leaving that for a while. So
Okay.
but yeah. So I'm free. I'm free, man. I'm free from Lost Ark. Actually thinking about playing Path of Exile again. There's actually a new season of that coming out next week as well, which is funny timing because I started playing that right before Lost Ark came out, and I was really getting into it. So I'm probably gonna jump. I might jump back into that too. But so feels good. Feels good. All right.
Feels good, man.
What have you been playing?
So I've been playing pretty much the same games on my list now. I'm on the difficulty mode of Astral Chain, so I beat the game, and then you have to go back to the missions and play. Excuse me. It's called Astral or PT Unlimited or Ultimate or something like that. So I'm planning on that. It's very fun still. Like I said, my biggest gripe with the game is the Switch. Actually, the Switch holds this game back from its full potential. So that's actually all I've been playing. I've actually taken a break. I always say this, but I'm for real this time. I've taken a break and I've been doing it for about maybe 2 weeks now. I've been okay. I've taken the break from League of Legends.
Oh shit!
I don't know. It's
What
just giving
the
me a
fuck?
bad. It's giving me a bad attitude when I play the game. I
Mhm.
don't like my attitude when I play the game. Even when I win, I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, I just don't like my attitude on it. It's just not a good feeling. I stopped having fun with the game.
The game
And
makes
I
you
think maybe,
toxic, man.
yeah, and it affects my mood everywhere else. And that's how I knew I needed to stop because it literally affects my mood in real life. Like I get really fucking upset and I don't want to talk to you by like maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stopped playing that. I am going to jump back into Apex because even though I get pissed off at that game, like we get pissed at that game, but it's not as bad as League of Legends or anything like that.
No, it's not. It's not the same way as League, right? Like, because we play together. Like League, it's like you're mad at other people a lot of the time, which is different. With Apex, we're mad at the game generally.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah. So
So besides that, I actually haven't really been playing anything else. Like I've been focused on so much other stuff in my life right now that I feel like in June I will finally be able to chill and like actually dive deep into games, which is perfect because
Hmm.
Rise is coming out around that time. So
Yeah.
I can't wait. So yeah, that's it for me.
Well, it's good to hear that you're in remission, Montrell. Um, it's always good news. All right. Let's move on to the news. We don't have a lot this week, but we have one really big story, and um, this is kind of something I think we were talking about a little while ago. Um, and that news is that Square Enix has sold Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and their Square Enix Montreal studios, along with a few IP related to those studios, to Embracer Group for $300 million. So the IPs that were sold were Legacy of Kain, Thief, Deus Ex, and Tomb Raider. Uh, all sold along with the studios to Embracer Group. And so yeah, $300 million for this deal. And I I think there's so I put a few articles in here and I'm gonna reference some of these, but I kind of want to just get right into the talk about this. Like how at first blush, Montreal, what's your kind of overall take on this?
Um, so I mean, I read the whole article and everything like that, and I know you're probably going to read a couple of excerpts from it in later on right now. Um, but I was really disgusted by the shit they said. If I was I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the developers are disgusted by the shit they said. Um, I hate the moves they're making. I actually read what Embracer Group said about the moves. They didn't directly say the moves that Square Enix are making, but they
Hmm.
pretty much said like we're going for sure investments rather than gambling. That's literally
Yeah.
what they said on NFTs.
Hmm.
And I'm not actually with side note, the NFT market almost I think crashed. Like it died, it dipped hard, really hard this week
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not really too sure what Square Enix is going for. I mean, I understand their strategy. I don't like what they said at the end. So one part I like what they said. They said we're focused on Eastern or making Eastern games or making our style Japanese games. Cool. I just didn't
Hmm.
like how they threw the developers saying, our Western games are the best or whatever the case may be. When it's been a long standing rumor that Square Enix has really bad management of their companies.
Hmm.
So before I get into that, I'll let you, explain what's going on.
Well, yeah. So the what you were referencing is they said in a quote that they want to they are moving forward with investments in blockchain, AI, and the cloud, and including NFTs. Um, which is funny because, like you said, the NFT market has completely just like bottomed out and crashed this week, and it's been crashing for the last few months. It peaked in like late last year and it's kind of just completely fallen off a cliff since. Um, so that's what they said about the investments. Embracer has said that they expect Eidos and Crystal in particular to not really make them any money for a couple of years, but they're totally okay with that. Not until they release their next games. So whatever they're working on. Um, but yeah, this deal, I think, like, I feel like we probably should have seen it coming more because Square Enix cannot do anything. They could not help themselves then other than to fucking talk shit about these teams every time they release a game. It didn't matter who it was. Like they've done it. They did it to Crystal multiple times with Tomb Raider games and Avengers, and they did it with. They've done it now twice with Eidos, with Guardians of the Galaxy and Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, and they have never been satisfied with the sales numbers that these companies generate, which I find ironic given that like Tomb Raider in particular has sold a lot of fucking copies. The three games that they made, the new trilogy. And it's like to the point that they sell as well. They've sold as well as most Final Fantasy games sell, you know, like, and Square Enix isn't satisfied with that. Now, there have been some people coming to the defense of Square Enix because this deal was largely met with a lot of Square Enix hate.
Hmm.
And some people have been saying that, there's one guy on Twitter, a reporter named Daniel Ahmad, and I'm going to read some
Yeah.
quotes from him. So, quote, he was quote retweeting somebody and responding to a tweet. They were basically saying that Square has ridiculous expectations for their Western games versus their Eastern ones, which is why they're never satisfied. And he said, quote, it's worth noting that these expectations are always backed by something tangible. And in Square Enix's case, it's the cost associated with running the studio plus developing the game. In layman's terms, they spent too much and got a low return. For reference, Crystal Dynamics had a profit margin of 3.6% in 2021, while Eidos Montreal had a profit margin of 6.65% in 2021. Square Enix as a whole, had an operating income margin of 14.2% last year. End quote. So his point is well taken. Like, but I think where I come down on this is I land on the side that Square mismanaged these teams basically ever since they got them, and never really knew how to handle them, because part of the reason their profit margins were that low, you can't just lay that at the foot of the development teams and say this is their fault and Square has nothing to do with this. Square is the publisher. They they're responsible for making sure the profit margin is high. Like, that's the
Hmm.
whole relationship. They own those teams. They're the ones running them, directing them, telling them what to do, greenlighting their games, and allowing them to hire and do everything that they're doing. So, yeah, on one hand, you can say that the teams were operating at a high cost, but Square Enix isn't coming in and saying, oh, we need to fix this. They just kind of let it happen. And not only did they do that, but they also continuously fucking hurt these teams with the way they market their games. Like, Mankind Divided was, again, I've said this multiple times on this podcast, one of the worst marketing campaigns I've ever seen for a game. And it literally, I feel certain in this, like, literally hurt that game's sales. Like, it made people not want to play the game. That's how bad that marketing campaign was. And then the microtransactions in that game did more damage to the game because it was an unnecessary secondary mode added into the game literally just to make money. And that took development time. So that means part of that operating cost is making that mode, which Square Enix is most certainly the one to make the decision, who made the decision to put that shit in, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I don't want to hear this, that this is Eidos's fault. This is Crystal Dynamics' fault. Do you really think Crystal Dynamics wanted to make a live service Avengers game? You really think they're the ones who made that decision? Because I just don't buy that. I really don't buy that. Like, I sincerely doubt they pitched that to Square and Square went to Marvel and pitched that. Like, I really doubt that. And that is another example of them fucking these studios over. You're mismatching talent to the type of game you're trying to make. Like, Crystal was not the team to make that game, you know? And again, that's Square's, to me, Square's mistake, you know? So I don't know. Like, and then Guardians, the most recent one, they didn't market that game well either, you know? Like, they
Yeah,
made,
that game was very mismanaged, or very mismarketed rather. Um,
mm-hmm,
to the point where even me and you were like, "Yo, this game looks ass. I'm not buying it." I actually have the game backlogged,
mm-hmm.
but I saw people playing it, and I was just like, "Whoa, this game is actually really fucking cool!" Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an unfortunate game because I think a gameplay showcase like they did, it's it it almost did the game a disservice to me, because the gameplay in that game is not the thing that shines. You know, that's not the reason the game is good. It's the story and the characters and the character interactions. You know,
hmm
over the course of the game, that's what makes the game so good. And you can't really sell that in a 40-minute or 30-minute gameplay demo with what they did at E3 or whatever their conference was that they announced that. Like, so it just, I don't know. They've always missed with these studios. They don't know how to manage them, and that ultimately led to this deal. And it led to Embracer, in my opinion, getting a steal. Like, this is like, dude, we think about Sony getting a steal with Insomniac for 223 million a few years back, but like this is on that level, because to me, Crystal and Eidos are really high quality studios for the most part, and I think under the right management, and maybe Embracer's it, they could make a lot of money with their games, and they could have really successful franchises. And this truly gives me hope for Deus Ex, like going forward. I think we're getting another one. Like, I think that has to happen.
Well, there was rumors too about Square Enix and the way they manage their companies, and I don't know if it's rumors true, but from the way that the games, even their Japanese games, have been going and been released and been worked on and development cycles and everything like that nature, I hear they come back, they'll approve the project, greenlight the project, and Justin will tell you guys, I am one for. I do not like micromanaging at all. I hate it. I don't want you to, but if you greenlight a project and then 4 years go by and you come back 6 months before the release and like, all right, guys, what you guys doing? I think there's a problem there.
Yeah.
I think there's a problem there. You guys need to see what's going on. And when I saw that rumor, and that rumor is from like years ago, that they that's how they manage it. It was like on the popular NeoGAF sites and stuff like that, in the forums and stuff, and it just makes sense. Like I stuck in my mind ever since I saw that like 5 or 6 years ago, and like if you look at how I'm not going to mention the game that need not be mentioned. You look how that got released, 2019, Final Fantasy 15, even the new old Final Fantasy 14 game. Like you see how these games got released and how they got pushed back in Avengers and all this stuff like that. Like it just makes sense the way the games are made. The only games to me that have like a steady good cycle of being released on time is Tomb Raider games. But even with them, that comes down to their marketing. They released the last 2 Tomb Raiders on popular dates or popular times other games are coming out instead of having its own release window.
Oh yeah,
dude. I think they released one game.
The second one was the week of Fallout 4.
Yeah, and then wasn't the last one they just released? That was like the week of like Call of Duty or some shit like that. It was another popular game that came out the same day, I believe, or maybe 2 days before. And I'm like, why would you just kill this game like that? So while I agree with I think his name's Daniel, right? I agree like a lot of his takes. He comes from like a logical side, but sometimes it's like you don't look at the whole picture, bro. Like the whole picture is they could have made their return back if 1, they put a little bit more effort into marketing the games, and then 2, you find release dates where nothing else is getting released. Like sometimes there are like dead months where nothing's getting released. Like October is one of those months sometimes because stuff doesn't release until like either the month before in September or the month after in November. So October sometimes is a really good month to get in some really sleeper hits. Right. And they just, I don't know, they always miss the mark when it comes to their Western games. And like, just to give y'all like a little taste of like Tomb Raider, the original one, sold more than 15, or the 2013 game sold more than 15 or just under 15 million copies. Like, and that they consider that almost like a miss for them, so it's like each one sold millions of copies after that.
This article, the article I'm referencing from I think it was PC Gamer, said that the sales numbers eventually became good for both franchises, but Square wasn't happy with, like, it took like 5 years for it to happen. And obviously those
Hmm.
games are being sold at a huge discount by the time they're making a lot of sales, like $10 a game probably. But this is the thing with Tomb Raider in particular. You're right; they always put those games into slots, like parts of the year that are heavily competitive. Like Tomb Raider is a big IP, but it's one that I think should be treated almost like a Sony. Sony treats their games. Sony doesn't release their big games in a November or October. They release them in March, February, April, like in the summer or at the latest September generally. They don't release their games in that hot window because they know it'll probably hurt their game sales. They're trying to maximize sales. They're not Nintendo. They're not Call of Duty, like they don't have that pull in the same way, even though their games are huge. Like, it's stupid to go up against those releases. And when you're Tomb Raider, like Square, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, put it in May or something, like a period of time that's not like a hot release period of the year. Like, put it in the summer. These are games that are good fucking, like, couple play over a couple weekend games, like they're perfect summer games. Square just didn't get that for some reason. And I don't know, like it kind of boggles the mind a little bit that they're and this is what fucking annoyed me with them so much about these teams, is how quickly they would come out and be like, oh, this game underperformed, oh, this game didn't meet our expectations. It's like, man, you guys, like, it almost feels like you guys like hate these teams. Like, you like it, I mean, clearly they didn't like these teams with how low they sold them for, 300 million. Like, I can't believe like Sony didn't buy those, or even Microsoft. Like that, dude. If that was the price, what the fuck, you guys? What are you doing? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, if Sony bought Eidos and fucking fuck it and bought Crystal 2 with Tomb Raider, like those feel like Sony. They could work as Sony IPs, like first party IPs to me. And it's like, dude, they would have been fucking killing it with those games. I feel like. So I don't know. I just, it's fine. Ultimately, I think this worked out in everybody's favor. All right, Square's happy. They don't have to deal with these teams that they feel like are boondoggles anymore. Us as fans don't have to deal with Square Enix holding these fucking franchises hostage and never working on them anymore. Deus Ex permanently being on ice. Like, I feel like Embracer is going to go straight in and probably start making a Deus Ex game already, if they're not already making one, before now. So I feel good about that. And then I think Tomb Raider I think they're already working on a new Tomb Raider game. They announced that, right? They're working on one in the new Unreal Engine. So,
Yeah.
so that's already continuing as well. So I don't know. I feel like these series are in better hands, and I'm kind of hoping for, I don't know, better games out of them going forward. I don't think Deus Ex will be littered with microtransactions as a part of Embracer Group, but I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Um. Yeah, it's still a toss up for that. I mean, because they're gonna want to make their money back. But I haven't heard any egregious things about Embracer Group or the games that they did acquire and everything of that nature. So, um, it'll be interesting to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had a lot of stuff to say. I had a lot of stuff to say about Square Enix at the beginning of the week. I was really pissed at them. Kind of cooled down
I saw you,
since
yeah.
then. But because I just think people just let them get away with shit. Even when Daniel was like coming to their defense, it's just like, bro, like, come on, man.
It's
Like,
obnoxious. Like, hold this company accountable, dude. Like, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
man.
guys. Like, just because they own Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, hold these guys accountable. This is what frustrates me with the fans of Square Enix, is like, we get on them for Kingdom Hearts 3, and it's like we're the weird ones. Like, we're the ones who are the haters. It's like, guys, like, you guys are just letting shit go, Like, this is the shit that frustrates me about fanboys or people who are, or even just like really like mega fans of franchises, is like they won't see the criticism of these games and like actually acknowledge it in an objective way. They always have to fucking like find some argument to undermine you, even if you're right about something, because like I have an example of this. Actually, I was texting with my brother this week, and we were talking about how games have gotten too big, and like we're both struggling with Horizon because it's fucking huge, and we were
Yeah.
talking about game bloat, and then I mentioned that I thought The Last of Us 2 was too big, even though I think the game is excellent and I really like the game. I do think it was too long. Like it was a few hours, probably 5 hours too long, as a game. And because the game's like 30 or 35 hours, dude. And
Yeah,
it's
you know what? I do remember.
Mhm.
Yeah, the cottage. I remember that because
Yeah.
the cottage. It was the part where everybody left her,
Yep.
and then there's a whole subsection, another game. You're like,
Yeah, there's
what
like
the
a
fuck?
3 or 5 hour section at the end of the game where you're like on a whole another dude. It's like the game. So yeah, I thought that game was just like a little bit too long. I thought it was a little long in the two. So I referenced that game as like a game that I thought was a little bloated. Like there was some sections probably in the middle you could have taken out to make the game a little shorter if you wanted to keep the same plot structure and whatnot. And then he was agreeing with me up until the point I mentioned The Last of Us 2, and he's like, oh no, that game's not too long. That game's perfect. It's like okay, come on, dude. Like fucking like it just drives me crazy. It's like, oh, I mentioned the game you really like, so all of a sudden I'm wrong, even though you were agreeing me up to now. It's like people do that shit all the time on the internet with these games. It's like I don't know. I could be making the most coherent point imaginable, and the second I bring up like Kingdom Hearts 3, oh, he's a fucking idiot, dude. What is he fucking talking about? Square Enix handled that game perfectly. That's like the best Kingdom Hearts game ever made. It's like, dude, fucking like, and then they'll be like, oh, well, they fixed it with Remind. It's like, what do you mean they fixed it with Remind? You had to pay $30 for Remind. Like, the fuck? Like, oh, it's a $90 game, and that's acceptable. Like, it's the same argument people make with Final Fantasy 15. Like, that was fucking bullshit too. Like, it's just like people can't be objective with this stuff, especially with Square Enix, and I can't stand it. Like it drives me nuts. So fuck it. I'm happy these studios are free. Like I really am. Straight up.
And apparently, a lot of other Square Enix fanboys are happy too. They call them dead weight. I saw that
That's
being
unbelievable.
thrown around.
That is unbelievable, dude. Like, like, have you played their games? Straight up. Like, have you played the games that these companies have made? Like, you're fucking like stupid, man. Like, I don't know. Well, so I did want to go over Embracer Group though, because we've talked about them a lot, but we've never talked really in depth about them. So IGN actually released a really awesome article about Embracer Group, kind of summarizing everything that they kind of done over the last few years.
Mhm.
And the article is called Embracer Group, What is the Company That Now Owns Tomb Raider? It was written by Jordan Serrani on IGN. So go check the article out, but I'm gonna bring out a few stats from the article. So they own 120 studios. They have 230 games in development, and they have over 850 IPs that they own right now. This is a company that's been around for about over 30 years. However, they've only been in games, like game publishing, for 10 or so, 10 to 15.
Okay.
And they really have only been in it for like 10 or so. And to be honest, their ascension has happened over the last like 5 years, where they have started buying and buying and buying and buying like crazy. They bought THQ IPs in 2013, like Darksiders and a few others, Red Faction, after THQ went bankrupt. And then they bought the THQ name, the trademark, in 2016 and turned into THQ Nordic, which we had talked about a couple times early in the show's life. And then in 2019, they turned into Embracer Group, which is what we know them as now. But the way they are now, they have like 10 subdivisions underneath them that basically are all publisher level like companies, essentially, that all have their own studios under them that basically run themselves for the most part. Like Embracer, like owns them all and obviously runs them all, but they're pretty hands off. They kind of let these studios, they buy the publisher and then they kind of just let them run themselves the way they were running themselves before. So they're an interesting company in that regard, but major acquisitions they've made. So yeah, they bought Darksiders, Red Faction, MX vs ATV, Destroy All Humans, from THQ, who had went bankrupt for 4.9 million. They were kind of quiet for a few years. Then 2017, they bought Black Forest Games for $1 million, who are now working on a remake of Destroy All Humans 2. They bought Experiment 101 in the company Experiment 101 in 2017 for $9 million. This was the developer that made Biomutant that came out last year. Then in 2018, they bought Koch Media and Deep Silver for $150 million. These are the publishers. They're I think Deep Silver in particular is actually a big indie publisher. They bought Dambuster Studios, Fish Labs, Volition. They bought the Time Splitters IP, Kingdoms of Amalur. They bought a company called Coffee Stain, who were the who made the Goat Simulator, Satisfactory IPs. They also own the company that made Valheim that came out last year as well. Then in 2019, they bought Warhorse Studios, who made Kingdom Come Deliverance. Piranha Bytes is another studio they acquired. Gunfire Games, Tarsier Studio. They bought Saber Interactive, which was a big publisher. That was at the time their 5th operating group. They're up to 10 now, which is insane. They also bought 4A Games, New World Interactive, Vertigo Games, Zen Studios, Purple Lamp Studios, Flying Wild Hog. Then last year they bought Gearbox, all of Gearbox, including the Borderlands IP as well. They bought Aspire Media, which is the team making the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. They're also the studio that has ported games to Mac OS for a long time as well. Deep Rock Galactic, Ghost Ship Games, DigixArt, Splitgate Ironworks, 3D Realms, Perfect World Entertainment, Cryptic Studios, and then this year they have now bought Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal for 300 million. So they own a fuck ton of stuff, studios, IPs, and otherwise. This has become a massive player in the game space, like fucking massive.
Yeah, that is definitely a lot of. I didn't know. I knew that they bought Deep Silver,
Yep.
or I thought Deep Silver was them, but I guess technically I'm right because Deep Silver was absorbed into them. And then I didn't know that they were THQ Nordic, and I'm like, because I thought they got bought out, but they just changed their name to Embracer Group.
They just changed the name.
Which I guess is cool. I mean, it sounds like a evil conglomerate type of business, like like a fucking what do you call those financial institutions? They sound like a financial institution, Embracer Group.
Yeah, like one of those like shady like investor groups that nobody knows about. Yeah, they do kind of sound like that. That would be funny if they're like they have the black silhouette, like video meetings where their voices are like obfuscated. They're like, yes, you're going to make 25 Borderlands games, fucking.
So far they don't. I mean, their moves haven't been evil, but I am very curious to see what they're going to do in the future. Are they just going to keep doing remakes of games and that's it, playing it safe? I mean, that's easy money. I mean, obviously, because I think Destroy All Humans 1, when they remastered that or remade that one, it sold pretty well. So,
well, they've been buying up a lot of IP that other people, other companies have kind of left for dead, and I like that. Like they seem to see potential in stuff that's been long dormant, and I really appreciate that about Embracer. I haven't played a lot of their games that they've released recently, or really ever, but I do think there will come a point where they are kind kind of they're gonna start releasing stuff that I think is interesting to everybody. Which I mean, they already are to a degree. Like they had the Kingdoms of Amalur re-release, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but they're probably working on a new game in that franchise, which seems crazy. But
I actually doesn't seem crazy to me. That game was like a cult classic. A lot of
right,
people love that game.
yeah,
So
right. But everybody just thinks it's dead. Like it was dead
yeah,
under
exactly.
EA. So,
Hmm.
so yeah. Now that's why it gives me hope that Deus Ex will find new life with Embracer Group. So
Yeah, hopefully they'll remaster those games. I think those games w- do need a remaster. I mean, they're still good now. You can play them on the
mm,
Xbox backwards compatibility.
mm,
But
Human Revolution could really use a remaster.
yeah.
That
Um,
would be pretty awesome, actually.
so I mean, I know a lot of people are against remasters, and I am one of those people. But I think I'm for a remaster if it gives me a new game in the franchise. Like it introduces older
Hmm.
players or
Hmm.
younger players rather to the game. They buy it, it sells well, it funds, and it jump starts. A newer game in the franchise. I'm all for it. So I think Deus Ex though is one of those games, especially now in this era
Hmm.
of like single player games actually making a comeback. I think that was a real sleeper hit because Deus Ex came out when multiplayer games were like super hot or they were becoming super hot. And it was also coming out at the end of like the single player game era, if that
Hmm.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um so I mean that's one thing I did want to mention too about Square Enix. It seemed like they didn't really know the trends of like when to release single player games. So for me, I don't know about how you feel about it. But for me, single player games are always released at the first and second quarters of the year. Like you
Okay.
said, like
Yeah.
got your Januaries, your Marches, your Februaries. I don't know when I'd order, just deal with it. Aprils and everything like that. And then towards the end of the year, there's always like new seasons for multiplayer games or
Hmm.
summertime. Usually, like the free to play games release their new seasons. So like League of Legends. Well, League of Legends you should do at the beginning of the year. But like like Apex, Fortnite, all those games. And then at the end of the year, you got your heavy hitters, your heavy multiplayer games, your Halos, your Battlefields, and your Call of Duty games. Those come out at the end of the year. And they always, without fail, release fucking Tomb Raider at the end of the year.
Hmm.
And I don't get it. So
Well, Deus Ex
hopefully,
too. The Mankind Divided came out at the end of August. So,
yep. So
um,
it's like hopefully they learn. Hopefully, Embracer Group kind of learns the flow of games and tries a little bit different. Now, I didn't like they tried to revive Homefront, and the Homefront they made was terrible. Um,
hmm.
that game didn't get the newer game didn't receive good reviews. I think it was either a remaster or it was a reboot of the franchise, and it didn't really do too well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, we will. It's I don't know. I'm just hoping for a new Deus Ex game. That's really all I want. I don't, I don't really care about anything else. So, all right. Let's move on, Montrell. So, our next story is about the remake of the original Prince of Persia Sands of Time. This game has been in development hell for a while now. It was supposed to come out at the end of 2020, I think, or early 2021. It was supposed to come out January 2021 after a 2020 unveiling, and then it was delayed to March, and then eventually it was delayed to indefinitely after that. And we've heard basically nothing since then. And it has now come to light that Ubisoft is switching the development team for this game. So it's no longer going to be the Ubisoft company in India. It's Pune and Mumbai is what it's called. They are no longer going to be making the game. Um, I don't think we know what developer is going to be doing it now. Um, let's see. Oh no, it's going to be led by Ubisoft Montreal, actually, which is the place where this trilogy came about, apparently. So that's an interesting thing. This was, I think, I remember when this game was announced. I remember finding out it was a Indian studio that had just been formed because that's what they said at the time. And
Yeah.
I remember kind of calling out that I wasn't sure they could handle this, like a bunch of unknowns.
Yeah.
So because this isn't a game that is like, I mean, obviously it's not like one of the most beloved games of all time, but it's a really good game and it really should be handled with care, and be well made. So I'm happy. I'm actually okay with this. I don't care if that means the game's not going to come out for another 2 or 3 years. Um, because I'd rather this be done well and actually be good than it be rushed and poorly done. So, what do you think about this, Montrell?
I honestly, I'll be honest, I don't really have any opinions on it. I never really was a huge Prince of Persia fan. Um, so I
Mm-hmm.
kind of got onto the train late for Prince of Persia, and the one I like is the one everyone hates. So I definitely don't have a opinion of Prince of Persia.
Is that the second one of this trilogy, or
I don't know. It was one where I think it was just called Prince of
oh,
Persia.
it was the weird like reboot one. That's right.
Yeah,
I
and
remember.
it was
Yeah.
more action. It was more action oriented.
Yeah.
But you're only fighting like bosses. I think you
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have like enemies to fight, and
Yeah.
that was the one downside to the game because the game's mechanics as an action game was actually really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like that. I think it was like a boss rush type game. So a lot of people didn't really like that at all, to be honest with you. And
Yeah.
I understand it. It was there was platforming in between those sections. But getting back to the remake, I never really played the. I think I played the first one on the
Mm-hmm.
Xbox. Or
Yeah.
no, not Xbox. Was it
No,
Xbox?
no, I think you're right. This is
Okay, yeah.
this is an old trilogy. Like the
I know
last one
this is
came out in like 2005 or 2006.
okay,
So,
yeah. So I played that one on the Xbox and I like that one. I didn't play the one on the 360. That's the one where
mhm,
it's like edgy on the cover and everything. I didn't play that one.
yeah.
I know a lot of people didn't like that one, or they were like iffy on that one. And then I played the other one that came out, the 2008 one. I think. I think that's when that one came out, and
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's always been like a really weird franchise for me.
Yeah.
I know, I know the franchise. Has like a really huge cult for. I don't even want to call it a cult following. I feel like it has like a staple. It is a staple in gaming because the original Prince of Persia came out on PC a long time ago and had very good gameplay elements and platforming. It was kind of ahead of its time at the time for what you can do with a 2D platformer.
Hmm.
Um, it had a time rewind mechanics. Like I learned all this shit on G4. That's how old as fuck I am. Because I didn't know what fucking Prince of Persia was. Like I was like, what the fuck is Prince of Persia? Or people were like, I remember Adam Sessler talking about like, oh yeah, Prince of Persia. I remember Prince of Persia when I was younger, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't remember this game. And like, yeah, G4 exposed me to a lot of shit that a lot of games I did not know about at all, which is
Hmm.
crazy. But anyway, I do remember watching the remake for this game, and I thought it was pretty cool that they were giving it to like a. I don't. Do you consider Indian studios Middle Eastern? I don't think so. They're
No,
Asian, right? They're South
yeah,
Asian.
Asian,
Yeah.
South
Is
Asian.
Persian? Persian is Middle Eastern, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. I thought it was just pretty cool to have another studio kind of make it because like a lot of those studios out there are really good. Like a lot of the Eastern studios
Hmm.
that are not Japanese. They are actually very talented, but a lot of people don't give them chances because they're not Japanese. They're either a Chinese studios and they're like, oh, it's a Chinese studio, so they're just gonna, whatever. So I mean, a lot of these other studios have made really good games or something like that. So I was actually really stoked to see this. But when I saw the remake, it didn't look like they had all the funding they needed, or maybe they were trying to
No.
go for
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
more what you call it stylistic style of gaming because the first one was like that was more stylistic. It wasn't realistic at all.
Hmm.
um so that's what I thought they were probably going for, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know.
watching the trailer again, like, dude, this looks so bad. Like, it was gonna flop like fucking hard. Like it. I don't know. Yeah, I think the thing about it is that like I think the thing that the red flags I had is that India is not a hotbed for game development right now. Like it never really has been. I like the idea of that country kind of fostering a game development scene a little bit more, for sure. Like that would be really cool, but um, it needs to be like I don't think this is the game to do it with, like you kind of you need to let them kind of make their own things, I think, and build themselves up a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with this. So I really like this game. Like this is one of my favorite games, to be honest. Like it's super good. The puzzles are awesome in this fucking game. The whole rewind mechanic is super cool. And there's actually some cool moments in the story as well. Like it's not a terrible story.
Mm-hmm.
So I I just hope it's good whenever it comes out. So all right, Montrell, let's move on. Yes, we have to talk about Blizzard. So they
We don't
announced.
have to talk about them.
I mean, I can't, bro. I got to talk about this, man. This is Warcraft, okay? So they had a little thing. They've been teasing that they're gonna announce their new Warcraft mobile game this week, and they did announce it, and it's called Warcraft Arclight Rumble, and it's coming to iOS and Android, and it is basically a little mini RTS game on your phone. However, the way they showed it kind of made it sound like it's going to be like a gotcha. They didn't talk about the monetization at all in the trailer. They didn't show it at all. But they did mention that you can summon these like special hero like units and you collect them. Like it says collect over 60 unique heroes. And when you talk about collecting, that is the gotcha game 101, like that is literally that's the first genre I think of on mobile. So yeah, they're making a Warcraft gotcha game. Fuck.
Is it called Warcraft Arclight Rumble?
Yes.
Looks fucking terrible.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, no, it doesn't look good. Yeah, it
No, it
doesn't.
looks like what it looks like. You know what it reminds me of? Remember that Final Fantasy 15 game that
Yeah,
was on mobile?
yeah,
That's what it looks like.
yeah,
Like you're. This is ugly.
dude. This
Dude.
is what Blizzard's working on, Montreal. Like Blizzard made this. This wasn't made. They didn't make that. They didn't make this like. They didn't do this like with a Diablo Immortal. Like it's not some Chinese company they're working with to make this. Like I'm pretty sure Blizzard internal made this one, and I'm just like, come on, man. They could have made Warcraft 4, you know, and they decided to make a
Why
mobile.
didn't they just put a Why didn't they just put an RTS on mobile? I feel like that would have sold a lot more.
Yeah.
You have like your own private army, and then you use the heroes as fucking gotchas. You can unlock different heroes for your army,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still an RTS game. See wow, monetization, good gameplay. I just had it right there. Boom, and this is what they come up with.
Yeah.
Oh my god, a tower offense. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my god.
I'm probably gonna play this though, out of curiosity. Like,
Yeah,
I
you gotta play it.
I gotta play it. I have to know. Like, obviously, seeing it doesn't look good, but that doesn't mean it isn't good. Like, it could actually be decent. But I have to know. Like, I gotta know. I gotta know how far they're going with this, dude. Like, is it gonna be horrific monetization? There's like you just I have to know. So I'm probably gonna play it. I'll have some impressions of it, and you're gonna hear me cry probably on the show. Because where are we with Warcraft, dude? Like, ugh. Oh man, Diablo fans, you're the only ones that are really getting what you want right now. I feel like.
Yeah, everybody else is like, suck it up.
Well, StarCraft's dead, Warcraft's in shambles.
StarCraft's been dead for like 10 years.
They're just rehashing, greatest hits of World of Warcraft with the new classic release every year or two. Now, now that they've realized that works, so they're doing that, and they're making mobile games, and then Overwatch is Overwatch, and then Diablo. Yeah, they're making a mobile game, but dude, they decided to port it to PC for all the people who were mad about that. So they're appeasing you, and then you're still getting Diablo 4 as well, like an actual proper Diablo game. So, yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Not great. So everybody check it out. If you're a fan of Warcraft, just go look at this and fuck. Let us know what you think. I want to know. Do you disagree? Do you think this looks fun? I don't.
Looks like one of those the first generation smartphone games that came out.
It looks like, dude. It looks like those smartphone games that you literally can't find in the App Store, but they're there. Like those ones you see ads for and shit on like randomly. But like they're like rip-offs of rip-offs, like it's like a rip-off of Clash of Clans, but they're the rip-off of Clash of Clans. Like that's kind of what this looks like to me. Like it looks like so cartoony, man. Like Montrell, open this in the article we have. Open the screenshot and look at it.
I'm watching gameplay right now of it.
Okay, no, but look at the screenshot, dude. Like it looks so bad.
Yeah, man. Watching it live looks really weird, and I don't fucking know, man. I mean, I guess they got to get their money up somehow, right?
I guess so. I guess they do, But all right, let's move on. All right, Montreal. Last story for the week. So there's this game. It's an action RPG called Thymesia. It is an action RPG. Kind of looks like a Souls-like, a little bit faster though. A lot faster, actually. It looks a lot faster. It has gotten an August 9th release date, and it's going to be getting a Steam demo as well. And it is going, I think it's on PC only. Nope, wrong.
No, they say it's coming to PS5, Xbox.
Yep, and PC. So all platforms. But this game, so Montreal, have you been paying attention to this game at all? I've seen a lot of clips of it lately, and it actually looks really cool.
I actually have not seen. I've seen one clip of this game, and I didn't know what it was, but now I know what it is now. But this is like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
you interested?
It looks really good.
You like what you see?
Yeah. It looks like it reminds me more of Neo than
I agree, yeah.
Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really stylistic like Neo, in my opinion.
Well, I like it because you're playing like a rogue, and that's like my RPG archetype, and you're like this guy's like dual wielding daggers, like it looks pretty sick. So I don't know. I may, depending on when it comes out, I may check it out for sure.
Yeah. What's funny about so I don't know if you have your Twitter algorithm set up or whatever, but it's just so funny hearing seeing the Soulsborne community and everything like that. So apparently Sekiro's on sale this week. Every time that game goes on sale, it trends like fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm. As it should.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like seeing the different takes. Now these aren't wrong takes or anything like that, but seeing people's different opinions on things, it's so crazy how people can play the same game. Well, it's not crazy. Because I have a totally different viewpoint of like Final Fantasy 15 compared to like some of my friends and apparently the rest of the fucking world. I think that game's objectively bad. Like that's objectively a bad game to me. And people look at it like, oh, Montrell, I don't know. How do you see that? So it's weird to see when like Souls fans play Sekiro. It's always at the bottom of everyone's Souls, like diehard Soulsborne people.
Mm-hmm.
It's always at the bottom of their list.
Yeah.
All the time. And then when people put it at the top of their list, they're like, I don't understand why you have this game just has no customization. You can't approach situations differently. And I saw somebody say like that's actually not true. Like the way you can use the prosthetic tools and everything like that. I've seen people use these tools in ways that I'm like, I didn't know you can do that with that tool. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there is custom. Obviously, it's not as much customization as a Dark Souls game, right? It's not because it's not an RPG. It's an action game. Uh, but it's just so weird um how people talk about the game and how they can't wrap their head around the parry mechanic. They just can't wrap their head around it. Like a lot of people said, yeah, I didn't like the blocking and parrying thing, and I just stopped playing it, and I went back to like like a Soulsborne game or
They need their
uh
iframes, bro. They can't live without their iframes, man.
yeah. And someone pointed that out. Someone pointed out that the game really punished you for dodging, and it does. I mean, there's certain instances where you have to dodge, but that jump and that parry mechanic was so crucial uh
Yep.
to Sekiro that like you can't just use the iframes because the iframes are very small and minimal. You will get punished for using that shit.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It was just a really interesting conversation to see on the timeline. People were actually being cordial because they were talking about all different types of Souls game. It only got toxic when Dark Souls 2 came up. Dark Souls 2 came up, everybody got toxic.
Oh boy.
People who like Dark Souls 2 and people who just absolutely hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that game's very divisive in the Souls community.
Mm-hmm.
That game and Sekiro, those are the two most divisive games
Mm-hmm.
in like Soulsborne or like From Software's catalog of games. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I'm really interested to see that people are going to play this game. I know a lot of people played other Soulsborne. I don't want to call them knockoffs, but like the Surge was okay. I know that got really good reviews. It got like like if it was a grade scale, it's like a C plus, B minus type deal. Lords of the Fallen, terrible game, fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I know there was another one that came out recently. I can't remember.
A Soulsborne?
And then people, yeah, a Soulsborne type game. I can't remember. I don't know if it was recent or within the last 4
Stranger
years.
Paradise.
I don't really count that. I think Neo games should be classified as their own games
thing.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think so.
Yeah. They're good enough to deserve,
Yeah,
they deserve it.
because I'm a prime example of why you can't compare those games. I went from playing Elden Ring to Stranger of Paradise, and I had to take a week off because I was getting my ass kicked in Stranger of Paradise, and I feel like if I had done the same thing in Neo, it would have been the same shit as well. Like I would have got my ass kicked because those games play fundamentally different. Like when the fundamentals are different, that's when, in my opinion, the game is not the same at all. Like I can probably play the Surge and then go back and play a Souls game, right? Because I did play the Surge. Lords of the Fallen, even though I played like 20 minutes of that game and I returned it. Same deal. But Neo and the Missia, I think these games are going to be fundamentally different.
Yeah.
And I think it's more so akin to, I call them Ninja Gaiden clones. I think they're Ninja Gaiden games. They're not. The only thing that compares them to Souls is the camera. The camera angle and the targeting system. But besides that, they're Ninja Gaiden games with a different camera angle. That's it. So that's my take.
Yeah. Well, Sekiro is better than any Souls game. So.
Uh-oh. No, you're right.
I mean, look.
Like, okay, that one fight that everyone's talking about, what's her fucking name?
Oh, Lady Butterfly?
Not Lady Butterfly, in Elden Ring. The Scarlet Rock girl, Melania or something like that, yeah. Her, I just want to fight her at Sekiro. I really want to fight her at Sekiro. That would have been such a cool fight as a Sekiro fight.
Yeah.
But I gotta use my dodge frame, my iframe and shit. Fuck off.
Yeah. No, dude. Okay. So this is my thing with Sekiro. Okay, is that this is the reason I think it's so great. There's a lot of reasons, but the first being that it's a game that builds on itself as you play it, right? The game teaches you things, and then it puts an enemy in front of you where you have to use what you've learned, and then it does this over the course of the game and kind of layers new things on it, on the mechanics, and then you fight enemies that use those mechanics over the course of the game. And then at the end of the game, you fight a boss that combines the elements of everything you've learned up to that point, and you have to utilize all of them in order to win. Like, you can't beat the boss if you can't do all those mechanics, and I mean, you might be able to. You might be able to get lucky enough to stumble through certain aspects of the fight for sure. But that's like kind of the brilliance of the game, right? It teaches you how to do things and then puts challenges in front of you that requires you to execute what you've learned. And video games oftentimes actually don't do that very well, They'll put mechanics in the game and then you never need to use it, Like, how many games have you fucking played where there's like these crafting systems that you don't have to fucking touch, or like block mechanics that you never have to use, and shit like that. Like, it's so common. And the other reason I like Sekiro so much is that it punishes you for dodging. That is not something that action games ever do. The dodge in every action game is overpowered as fuck. You have crazy iframes. Some games it fucking slows down time and makes you like a god for like a second or two, like crazy shit. Like God of War like has this fucking crazy parry mechanic. Like God of War 2 has this insane parry mechanic. If you time the parry right, you do this counterattack that fucking obliterates everything around you. Like crazy shit like that. Like Sekiro is very simple. Like there's nothing, you don't get rewarded in big ways for doing something that's like very routine in the game, but doing it consistently is what you get rewarded for. You get rewarded in small chunks over the course of a fight to the point that you eventually beat the boss. Like it's just it feels so fucking good. Like it's hard to describe. It really is hard to describe. And I'm sorry, no Souls game I've played has ever given me that feeling. Like I'm just like,
yeah, because somebody said what's a better sound? Like I don't like things like, man, that sound when you parry somebody in a Souls game, it's undefeated. What sound can top that sound? And people were in the comments like, yo, the sword parrying in Sekiro. And I'm like, yeah, I like the sound.
It sounds like music, dude. It sounds like music. Like it's like a rhythm. It's almost like a rhythm game. Like,
yeah, and a lot of people say that. People like, you just don't have any rhythm, man. Like it is a rhythm game. Once you get the rhythm down, the boss fight that you're fighting, it becomes really easy. And like you were saying, the game builds upon itself. Like I just remember being so scared of enemies, and literally fights would take like 2 minutes to beat like the little mob enemies. And then like once you progress through the game, for me, it was like once I beat Lady Butterfly, everybody was just easy as fuck. Like all the little mob enemies were like easy as fuck for me. I was like just tearing through them. Yeah. And then you reach another wall, which is Lord Jinchuriko. And then that one, a lot of people were saying they quit. They couldn't beat him. And I understand why. Because that phase is a 2-phase fight. Yeah. You beat him, and then you like, oh, thank God. And then he like grows wings and fights him that
lightning at you. And yeah. Exactly. But you know what's funny though? That fight is really like when you get to the end of the game, like Genichiro is like a joke. He's like the intro part of the final boss fight too. You fight him at the beginning of the final boss fight, and like how fast I was killing him with each attempt was fucking hilarious. It's like comical how easy he was to fight, like compared to some of the later bosses. Like bro, Owl's fights are fucking insane, dude. Like especially the second one is just like, oh my god, that's the hardest fight in that game, I think. Like bar none. I think it's harder than the last boss, like frankly. But it's one of the most amazing boss fights I've ever played, in a game. So I don't know. I love it. I love it. And people like complain about the Guardian Ape and shit. I'm like, dude, the Guardian Ape is so easy. Like how are you guys struggling with the Guardian Ape? Like he's not.
That Guardian Ape can suck a dick. I fucking hate the
Guardian Ape, not hard at all. Like I don't.
He's not hard, but he goes off rhythm.
No, okay. The thing about it is, he's actually harder before he loses his head. Like, in my
Yeah.
opinion, when you
No,
get
no,
into the phase where he's lost his head, he is so fucking easy. Like, it's like, I don't know. I mean,
that
I
whole fight
understand he's off.
is
I understand he's off rhythm, but if you get the rhythm, you have gigantic attack windows against him. So.
yeah.
But the fight that can suck a dick is the second Guardian 8 fight where you fight the female one too. That one can suck a dick. That's bullshit. 2 bosses
I
at once.
actually beat both of them very easily,
That shit
which is funny.
That shit fucking pissed me off, dude. And I know Elden Ring is full of 2 boss fights. That shit can go straight to fucking hell. Like, that's garbage, man. I want to go toe to toe, 1-on-1. Like, that's hard. That's a challenge. When you're fighting 2 things at once, that's just like, that feels cheap. Like, you literally can't block both of them at the same time. Like, you have to fight way differently, and I don't know. I don't like it personally, but yeah, Sekiro is amazing. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was popular, this is what I would do with Twitter. I would just post random ranking lists of things, and I know would piss people off. Like, I would rank like Star Wars, and I would have like Revenge of the Sith like second or third, and people would fucking lose their minds.
That's actually not an unpopular take anymore.
Is it real? Is really? Okay.
I actually saw a list that it didn't trigger me.
Mm-hmm.
I understood why he picked it. I think he picked it for the wrong reasons. And he picked Attack of the Clones as his first movie, like best Star Wars movie of all time.
No.
And I'm like, he said he actually said thoughts. So everything else in the list was like, okay. But when he put Attack of the Clones, I'm like, Attack of the Clones was like objectively boring as fuck. Like, you can't get over. And he was trying to say like, oh, everyone only hated it because of the Anakin Padme triangle or the romance in it.
But that's, and I said, like, no, huge part of the movie, bro. Like,
it's for me. For me, maybe I blocked that shit out. Mm-hmm. For me, I love the movie because of the huge lore dump they give you in the movie. It's like it's a huge fucking lore dump. It's very political. Mm-hmm. To me though, the movie itself was not paced well. And if you don't pace a movie well, it can, no matter how much lore they give you or whatever, or Easter eggs and all that shit, like, the movie can be terrible. And that's what happened with Attack of the Clones. Like, I only love Attack of the Clones because of what it gave me outside of the movie. Like, the games and the comic books and the books related to that era or that movie in that particular era was fucking GOAT. Like, all those games are GOAT. Everything's GOAT around that time.
Did you ever watch the animated show?
Yeah. Clone Wars. Yeah, I love Clone Wars.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, everything's GOAT around that except for the actual movie itself. Because like he's right. A lot of people focus on the Padme because it's bad though. It's really fucking bad.
That's what I'm saying. There's terrible scenes. There's like 3 or 4 of them in the movie, and all they are is Anakin whining about fucking God, dude. Like, and then no, the thing. Okay, dude, we're getting way off topic here, but dude,
I mean, we're at the end of the podcast anyway. We're at the end.
Like, the fucking if you guys don't want to listen to this, you can just turn it off. We're done. Yeah. There's no more news. But like, dude, the scene in the fucking factory or whatever where they're like hopping around like they're in a video game, like, I can't. And like, Anakin's fighting these like CGI gargoyle things. It's like, dude, like, what is this? Just take the whole thing out. It serves no purpose, And then Yoda jumping around like a fucking jackass at the end of the movie with this fucking lightsaber, like fucking God, dude. And then the whole arena Coliseum fucking scene fight or whatever just sucks total dick. Like, that movie.
Well, it was because it's not Jango Fett. That was Jango Fett.
It is Jango
actually,
Fett.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was. He was supposed to be like this legendary person that he just gets his head chopped off.
Oh yeah, Boba Fett.
That was
Jango Fett. Jango's his father.
Yeah, Jango is the one who got his head cut off, and then Boba Fett, picks up the mantle after that.
Yes.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like this legendary hunter and everything, and he just gets fucking demolished. Like,
Yeah.
all the clones are based off this guy's DNA, and the clones are actually really fucking good at fighting, but this guy isn't. Like, it's like
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. It's just, and I granted I get it. Like Mace Windu is like that guy. He's supposed to be that guy and everything like that. So maybe he just made it look easy, but like that's the defense people give it, and
Yeah.
I don't know. When he said that Attack of the Clones was his number one movie, I was like, whoa. Like I would have
Dude,
took like,
Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie. Like,
oh yeah, objectively. Like
just,
I know a lot of people shit on The Last Jedi, but Attack of the Clones, at least The Last Jedi is watchable. Attack of the Clones is completely unwatchable. I'm sorry. It's not watchable. When I go through a Star Wars marathon, I legitimately skip that movie. I like watch cliff notes of it, like on YouTube or some shit.
Yeah,
because
I watched them all a few years ago before Force Awakens came out, and you know, I was like, I mean, I haven't seen these in forever, so I watched them all again, and I was like, dude, Attack of the Clones is like, it's actually a weird movie because I think the early part of the movie is actually not bad, like for the most part.
That's when the political shit is happening.
Yeah, but and then the movie like halfway through just like completely falls apart, like, and it's like devolves into this shit sandwich. Like, it's just garbage, dude. You know, like,
so if movies did the same thing as games, right? As far as remakes, I want them to remake that movie with like, I would say the team that made Game of Thrones, but like
yeah, careful.
But like but like the style of Game of Thrones. I think that movie would actually make a really great series. Just as like a game of like I know Clone Wars is out. I know people are like, oh, watch Clone Wars. But like a TV show just focused on the political aspects of Star Wars, and then you get a little bit of action here and there, like they did in fucking Game of Thrones. I think that would make perfect TV. Like, you know, you don't have to do the clone era. You can do like, you know, which is, I think they are going to go back into the past with the Knights of the Old Republic, or with the Old Republic era, because that's all that shit is. Like, it's all political. Like, give me some like fucking Sith, like, you know, conjuring shit against each other while they fucking hate each other. Like, all of them hate each other. All of them trying to get the most powerful. Why do we have the rule of two now? Because Sith just hated each other. They all were trying to kill each other, and we need to see like a story about that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know how we got to Star Wars, but yeah, man. Yeah, that was there are some pretty bad takes out there. You know, bad takes. All right, so it looks like Justin's internet went out during the show. So sorry about that, guys. But I am going to end. I'm going to close the show. So if you like this show, you can reach me at iTrap for the Hokage that's iTrap for the Hokage. That's number 4, not the word, at Twitter. And you can reach Justin at ThunderNet01 on Twitter. You can reach us on Google, Spotify, Apple Music, any podcast app of choice. Man, this is hard, and I hear him do it all the time. If you want to leave us a question, you can leave us the questions at the players take 01 at gmail.com. Or you can, like I said, go to one of our Twitter handles I mentioned at the beginning of the outro. But thank you for listening, guys. I hope you guys have a great night.